Hello, you're watching the English News Bulletin on QPVN channel. I'm Nguyễn, and now let me keep you up to date with the headlines. President LUONG receives outgoing Chilean ambassador. Vietnam's participation in UN peacekeeping operations in 2025-2030 period mapped out. Rare documents on Vietnam-US relations first unveiled. On the afternoon of July the 11th in Hanoi, President LUONG received Chilean Ambassador Sergio Narea Guzman as he bid farewell at the end of his term in Vietnam.
President LUONG congratulated the ambassador on a successful tenure and reaffirmed that Vietnam values its relation with Latin American countries, including Chile. However, the president remarked that despite significant achievements, cooperation remains modest compared to the strong political ties and potential between the two nations. He expressed hope that Ambassador Guzman, with his deep affection for Vietnam, would continue to contribute to strengthening bilateral relations. Ambassador Guzman expressed satisfaction with what had been achieved during his time in Vietnam. He emphasized that Vietnam and Chile share a solid historical foundation and mutual admiration, and pledged to continue working to deepen their comprehensive partnership, regardless of his future position.
The same day in Hanoi, General Phan Van Giang, Minister of National Defense, addressed the seminar themed History of the General Staff of the Vietnam People's Army, 1945-2025.
General Nguyễn Tân Cương, Chief of the General Staff and Deputy Defense Minister, chaired the seminar. Compiling the work History of the General Staff of the Vietnam People's Army, 1945-2025, is identified as an important task, which is to educate the whole military and the masses about the 80 years of heroic tradition and glorious history of the General Staff in the role of the party's strategic military and defense advisory agency, the command and management agency of the People's Army and the militia and self-defense force. Concluding the event, General Nguyễn Tân Cương assessed that, when published, the work would serve as a valuable source for studying, teaching, and dissemination work, continue to be referenced and applied in the building of the General Staff in the new context, especially amidst the cause of building a highly skilled, streamlined, strong military.
Also on the morning of July the 11th, at the Vietnam Department of Peacekeeping Operations, under the chair of Sing Lieutenant General Hoàng Xuân Chiến, Deputy Defense Minister, head of the Intersectoral Working Group, head of the Ministry of National Defense Steering Committee on participating in the UN peacekeeping operations, the Ministry of National Defense held a conference to direct the implementation of the law on participation in UN peacekeeping forces and the project on preparing and deploying forces participating in the UN peacekeeping operations in the 2025-2030 period and the following years, as well as to grasp some relevant ordinances and regulations.
2025-2030 is an appropriate period to expand the scale, types of units, and individuals participating in the peacekeeping operations. In details, the goal by 2030 is to deploy 1 to 2 new units to UN peacekeeping missions, continue to apply for senior positions at UN headquarters and missions. From then on, there will be 3 to 7 units ready to deploy when requested by the UN. Sing Lieutenant General Hoàng Xuân Chiến asked the Vietnam Department of Peacekeeping Operations to closely coordinate with relevant agencies to thoroughly grasp and effectively implement the project for the 2025-2030 period, proactively train high-quality human resources, especially female peacekeepers, improve strategic advisory capacity, try applying for high-level command positions, contributing to asserting the role, responsibility, and position of Vietnam in the international arena.
To enhance the coordination of information and communication about the National Assembly's Committee for National Defense, Security, and External Affairs on the occasion of major national holidays in 2025, the Committee's Standing Board on July the 11th met with leaders of prominent media outlets. The session was presided over by Sing Lieutenant General Lê Tân Tới, chairman of the committee.
In recent time, the National Assembly's Committee for National Defense, Security and External Affairs has successfully established and sustained strong collaboration with leading media agencies. The partnership has ensured that information regarding the committee's legislative activities, law appraisal, oversight, and parliamentary diplomacy is communicated comprehensively and effectively to the public. As a result, it has fostered a positive public perception, attracted widespread attention, and contributed significantly to enhancing the transparency of the National Assembly's operations. Moreover, this effort has strengthened public trust and consensus while raising awareness about national defense in today's evolving context. Representatives from the committee and senior leaders of the press agencies proposed several measures to improve the effectiveness of information coordination. These include designating dedicated liaison officers to facilitate media communications, providing training for committee members in communication skills, writing media interviews, expanding multimedia outreach, and developing a comprehensive information database to support sustained communication efforts.
In recent years, growing demands for logistic support across the military have required higher levels of readiness, precision, and innovation. Thanks to a proactive mindset, always striving to stay a step ahead, the officers and soldiers of the military logistics sector have quietly but diligently ensured that every vegetable garden, kitchen, warehouse, medical station, and supply route has become a reliable logistic front.
At Military Logistics College No. 1, the need to improve military medical command training prompted a team to develop a physical training model and accompanying digital platform. These tools allow rapid, accurate map integration and remote access across units, saving both time and resources. The digital map platform lets us quickly and accurately retrieve map data and share it securely across the entire military, cutting costs significantly. In the same spirit of flexibility and innovation, Naval Logistics has actively advised on tailored solutions for training and combat readiness, from adjusting meal standards for specialized forces to testing special fuels and advancing the Greening Trường-Sa program. Naval Logistics has made great strides ensuring timely, comprehensive support, especially in safeguarding maritime sovereignty. Troops' living conditions have improved significantly, including modernizing transport services in both quantity and quality. As the year progresses, logistics support will focus on units preparing for the A80 parade. Logistics teams at training sites are working in a unified, proactive, and efficient manner to ensure quality accommodation, meals, and health care for troops. We've seen tremendous efforts by host units in ensuring troops' living standards, while logistics departments from across military regions and corps are closely supporting operations on the ground. From nutritious meals and well-maintained barracks to medical stations, fuel depots, transport routes, and beyond, ensuring timely, quality, and comprehensive logistics in all conditions forms foundation for responding swiftly to any contingency. In every scenario, logistics will always go a step ahead, ready to mobilize resources, equipment, and personnel whenever and wherever needed.
Coming up next, rare documents on Vietnam-U.S. relations first unveiled. Charlie Lotus Pond, where people, nature, and sustainable tourism bloom together. For the first time, historic documents such as the former U.S. President Bill Clinton's statement at the White House normalizing relations with Vietnam and the declaration by Prime Minister Võ Văn Kiệt welcoming that decision were introduced to the public at the exhibition titled 30 Years of Vietnam-U.S. Diplomatic Relations, held on the morning of July the 11th in Hanoi.
Organized by National Archives Center 3 with Vietnamese and American partners, The event celebrates 3 decades of diplomatic ties and commemorates war-wounded veterans and Mother's Day. The exhibition features 3 sections, namely establishing diplomatic relations, cooperation and development, and entering a new era, showcasing key milestones across politics, economy, culture, and defense. A special highlight is the collection of documents on joint efforts to overcome war legacies, an area that paved the way for today's comprehensive strategic partnership. At the event, numerous records and wartime artifacts were returned to Vietnamese veterans and martyrs' families, while Texas Tech University donated over 200 sets of war-related records to the National Archives Center 3 for preservation and future restitution.
50 years after the end of the war, 1975-2025, and 30 years after normalization, 1995-2025, Vietnam and the U.S. have traveled a long path from former adversaries to comprehensive strategic partners. Notably, vibrant economic and investment ties over the past 3 decades have become a solid bridge in bilateral relations.
According to Vietnamese ambassador to the U.S. Nguyễn, after normalization, more U.S. businesses entered Vietnam. Boeing has operated in Vietnam for 30 years and is now expanding its aerospace cooperation. Other major names like American Express, AT&T, and Bank of America followed in finance, telecommunications, manufacturing, and energy. The presence of U.S. businesses in Vietnam is visible proof of normalization, not just a political agreement, but a living reality. U.S. investment has raised Vietnam's global profile, attracted more international interest, and accelerated its integration into the world economy.
Development has been breathtaking, and I think today Vietnam should be very proud. It's one of the fastest growing countries in the world. You have a young, dynamic, well-educated, hard-working population. You've created an environment that I think overall is very welcoming for foreign investment. I think Vietnamese diplomacy has also been very successful in trying to be a friend to all countries.
Meanwhile, Vietnamese firms are also expanding in the U.S. Companies like FPT, Sovico, and VinFast have opened offices and partnerships, creating jobs and contributing directly to the U.S. economy. As Vietnam shifts towards a tech-driven digital economy, with energy investment and private sector growth as key drivers, Mr. Reup hopes to see U.S. firms play an essential role in that transformation.
In Duy Xuyên Commune, Da Nang City, Charlie Lotus Pond is currently a mesmerizing sight, attracting both locals and travelers. Spanning nearly 35 hectares, it is quickly becoming a key part of the area's agricultural economy and community-based tourism.
Every year, from May to August, Charlie awakens in a sea of soft pinks and greens. For a truly enchanting experience, an early morning visit is recommended when the sunlight is still gentle and morning dew glistens on the leaves. Once a land of rice fields with modest returns, Charlie has transformed over the past decade. The switch to lotus cultivation has not only brought more stable income to local farmers, but also helped preserve the serene natural landscape. From dried lotus seeds and fragrant teas to delicate handcrafted keepsakes, the lotus here has taken on new life when adding value to the region's agricultural identity. More than an economic blessing, the lotus is a timeless emblem of purity, resilience, and spiritual connection. Blessed with natural beauty and the warm hospitality of its people, Charlie is emerging as a must-visit gem on the map of Da Nang City, a testament to successful sustainable agricultural and tourism development. Just an hour journey from downtown Da Nang, visitors can step into this peaceful countryside and experience the gentle rhythm of rural life, immersing themselves in the unique cultural and ecological richness of central Vietnam.
And that's all for now. Remember, you can always watch the news again at qpvn.vn. Now, thank you for watching and hope to see you next time.